So today we're going to talk about defending and establishing a defensive perimeter around whatever it is you're working on, whether it's a bridge, a dock, harbor facility, airfield, farm, survival retreat, whatever it is. And this is a really good reference that we're going to use to discuss that. This is the Seabee Combat Handbook. Now, the interesting thing about this is a condensed course on using weaponry to defend what you're working on. Most people have never seen this, and the Seabees use a lot less types of weapons than other parts of the service do. And it's concentrated on defending what they're working on. So their primary mission is to build stuff. Their secondary mission is to protect what it is they're building. And this manual is NAVEDTRA 10479-A as in alpha. This is the Seabee Combat Handbook. This is something you definitely want to find. It's not easy to find, and you may have to look online. I'm not sure if it's available online. The only copy I have is a hard copy. Now, one thing you need to know about the Seabees is in this era, it was the Vietnam era that this manual was printed. So they used .45 automatic, M16, M60 machine gun, 81 millimeter mortar, 106 recoilless rifle, and various types of 40 millimeter grenade launchers. So they have an abbreviated allotment of weapons compared to other services. Now, one thing that's important is the trajectory of the weapons you're going to use for defensive purposes. So if we look at page 281 in this manual, this is the danger area of 7.62 NATO ammunition, and this is basically when it's set up to be fired in an M60 machine gun off a tripod. But if you have 10 soldiers, for instance, or 10 preppers or survivalists, and they're all firing their 7.62 NATO, their 303 British, their Morrison Nagant, or their 30-06, they're all going to have a very similar trajectory to this. So what we're showing here is this is the danger area. So what we're looking at here is the trajectory of the rounds. So when you're firing at 600 meters or yards, the height of your fire when you're laying in prone will be 3 feet or 1 yard in height. If you're firing to 800 meters or yards, you're going to be roughly 9 feet in trajectory. Then if you're firing to 1,000, you're going to be 18 feet or 6 yards. Now what's interesting about this is the original purpose of this was so that if the enemy was walking through your area and you were shooting at roughly 750 meters, a human being would always be in danger, because the trajectory to 750 meters is roughly 68 inches. And, you know, a 6-foot human or a 5'8" human, they would be hit somewhere on their body from the top of their head to their toes, walking all the way from 750 yards into zero. Now, what they don't tell you is if you're concerned about vehicular assault, people running through your AO with automobiles or car bombs, truck bombs, whatever it is, you'll notice that these heights, being 9 foot and 18 foot, you can shoot somewhere around 850 to 900 meters, and that vehicle will be hit. So if you're zeroed at 900 and you open fire and you don't move your weapon, and you keep firing, it'll be hitting that vehicle all the way in over that 900 meters. The diagram down here shows you the danger area. So when we look at 700 meters here, a human being is always in danger. When we shift the fire to 800 meters, a human will be hit in this distance up to about 250 yards. Then the round will be going over their head. And then somewhere here around 650 yards, they'll still be in danger again. And then our trajectory gets so high at 1,000 meters that a human will be safe in a large area here. So when you're setting your defensive fires up, whether it's a machine gun or a rifle, if you're using full powered ammunition, 30 caliber, 7.62 NATO, 7.6 by 54R, 303 British, 30-06, this table will indicate how your weapons will react when fired in this distance against personnel and vehicles. Now, this is on page 282, and what we're doing is looking how your rifle disperses ammunition over the range. So when you're shooting here, you have several things that cause the rounds to disperse. One of them is the quality of ammunition. One of them is the quality of your shooting and the quality of the weapon and atmospheric conditions. So what happens is when you're shooting here, your rounds are going to fall in what's called a beaten zone right here. So when we look down here, if a soldier is standing in this area, you can see by the circle where your rounds will fall. So all the way out here at 1,000 yards, you'll see that maybe 25% of the rounds would actually fall on the human. 700 yards, most of it would fall from his ankles to his head. 500 yards, knees to the top of the head. Now, when you're looking on the ground straight down, your rounds would fall in this pattern. So you would be shooting from this way, the rounds would fly through the air, and when they came down on the ground, this is what your beaten zones would look like. So what we'll notice is as you go to longer and longer range, your beaten zone gets smaller, and the reason is that's called plunging fire. Now, this is an interesting diagram I haven't seen in other military manuals. It's on page 283. And this shows how your cone of dispersion in your beaten zone changes based on the topography of the ground. So the first one on the top is flat ground. Then you have an upward slope. Then you have a long downward slope. And then you have a small hill. And it shows you how your rounds will fall out. And the bottom one is very important because what that's doing is showing you that you can actually drop rounds over the top of a hill where you can't see on the other side. So the enemy won't be safe if you deploy your weapons properly. Now we're going to go to page 313. And this is a really good diagram. This is the basis of securing an area that the Seabees used to use in the Vietnam era. So on the left-hand side, you'll see an airfield that they're working on, and then you'll see their facilities and equipment are in the center of that enclosure. And then this shows you where their security forces are aligned. So in these little circular loops, this is their main force. So this is their main defensive forces. And then this is their reserve forces around here. This is where all their equipment and everything is stored. And then you have a security area around here. Your security area would have LPOPs in here. So you'd have listening posts, observation posts. But your main defensive perimeter is actually this inside area right here. And you can see how they partially encompass the area they're working on, but they tightly encompass all of their equipment, materials, and supplies. So this is an idea that you can actually use when you're securing facilities, your farm, your prepper, retreat, or whatever it is you're trying to defend. And you'll notice they have small gaps here that they can defend, and this allows egress and ingress into the different areas of the base, but yet it's still easily defended. Now, the last diagram I want to show you is defending a reverse slope or a small system of hills. In my area, this is extremely useful. In your area, it may or may not be useful. But what we have here on page 327 is we have a slope. It goes down. You have a small reverse slope here going out to a forward slope toward the enemy. So if you're occupying this hill in this low area, and this slope here can be a naturally existing slope or a berm that you have constructed. And what it's showing is you have a reserve force, and that could also include mortars, machine guns, riflemen, snipers. Your main force is here on the reverse slope of this hill. And your security elements, your LPOP, is out here on the forward slope where they can actually see and hear the enemy. This gives your force maximum protection, but you still have very good eyes and ears and capability to detect enemy movement by your security forces that are outside of the main force, which is on the reverse slope. So these are a few ideas you can use defending your perimeter. Please comment, share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.